Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Whitney Vosburgh, author of Work the Future Today, Finding Your Path to Purpose, Passion, and Profit. Whitney, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Are you ready to get started?
I sure am.
All right. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Make it shorter.
All right. How much shorter?
Just people's attention spans are ever smaller, shorter, and finite. So the more fat you can cut out of the book, and the quicker you can get to the point, the better.
I agree. I always want to have a book that someone can read on a flight from Dallas to Los Angeles. Something that's to the point, that's to direct, but gives you a lot of great content. Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
There are a number of similar hoops to jump through, whether you're self-publishing or getting published, and there are some differences as well. The main thing is getting to a point where you say to yourself, this is good enough to get published now instead of later.
Exactly. Done is better than perfect. Get that sucker out there.
Right.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launches that has worked well.
For me, it was what I call CoBranding. In other words, brands are known by the company they keep. So whoever is going to testify, review, lend their name to, recommend, what have you, around your book is super important, because if one bigger name is worth so much more than a bunch of kind of big names or whatever field that you are addressing. I was lucky enough to have been interviewed by Dan Pink years ago. And I followed him through his career. He's done very well for himself. And I finally said, hey, Dan, remember me? You interviewed me for your first book, blah, blah, blah. I've got a new book that's related to what you like to write about. Would you mind writing me a testimonial? And he did, and a very good one as well. So I've used that on the cover of the books and all over the place. And it has given me instant credibility.
So when you mention co-branding in regards to your book, so your main strategy is being to reaching out to influencers, people that you've already got a connection with, and asking them to do testimonials on your behalf.
Yes.
It's a great strategy. Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. And my favorite thing about it, besides its sort of indomitable spirit of the human race, is that we always have a choice no matter what. We can act, we can react, or not act. But we so often make excuses for ourselves saying, I didn't have a choice. Well, the truth is, you always have a choice.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote from this book, and in general, is, man is not fully conditioned and determined, but rather determine himself whether he gives in to conditions or stands up to them. In other words, man is ultimately self-determining.
Well, Whitney, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Best way is to go to Amazon for the Work the Future Today books. And you can also visit our website at www.workthefuture.today. And you can also follow me on Twitter. My handle is Brand Guru.
All right. Well, Whitney, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.